Love it or hate it, NIL is here to stay. And in order to compete in today's college football scene, you gotta cough up some cash. That had me thinking, what would the most expensive team in college football look like? So I went to work building it. I'll be using the On3 NIL Valuation Index, which uses roster value and NIL to create an athlete's projected annual value. Their algorithm focuses on performance, influence, exposure, and verified deal data to create roster and brand value that combine to form the total valuation. Performance covers on-field aspects. Influence involves social media reach and engagement, while exposure can range from the tier of the school they attend to the perceived importance of the position they play. Roster value is a calculation of the athlete's value to the team, which would mostly come from a school's collective. It is primarily based on the athlete's performance value, their school's NIL collective size, and the overall NIL market. Brand value is generated when an athlete's performance, influence, and exposure combine to create awareness on a regional to national scale, which opens the door for advertising and sponsorship opportunities beyond roster value. Think Dr. Pepper commercials or clothing deals. This is typically generated through their social media influence, and it isn't sourced from collectives or schools. You combine all this and you get an athlete's total NIL valuation. Now that we've covered the method to the madness, let's build this budgetless team. The number one priority is the most expensive position, quarterback, where we have Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. The first few weeks of the season, you couldn't go 10 minutes without hearing something related to Sanders. When he wasn't the topic on ESPN, you could see him and his family in commercials. While it pays to be the son of Dion, Shedeur made waves with his flash on and off the field. RB1 is Ohio State's Travion Henderson. Spoiler alert, this isn't the first time you'll see a Buckeye on this list. A premier back at a premier school, it's not a surprise Henderson is making bank, especially considering he could have easily headed to the NFL draft after last season, which would have left a significant gap at the position, at least until the next guy on this list, Quinshon Judkins, decided to transfer from Ole Miss to the Buckeyes. That's right, the top two highest valued running backs both play for OSU. Ironically, the most talented back in the nation also plays for OSU, just one a bit further down south. Judkins was a stud for Ole Miss last season and had the bulk of the carries for the Rebels. The scary part is his freshman year, he performed even better, alongside another stud in Zach Evans. It's pretty easy to predict that the Buckeyes duo will perform well beyond their NIL worth and could give duos like Reggie Bush and Lendell White a run for their money. No pun intended. At wide receiver 1, we have a new addition to the Oregon Ducks, Evan Stewart. This one caught me by surprise because Stewart has almost double the value of the second best receiver at a whopping $1.5 million. While he is clearly talented, he also hasn't exactly jumped off the page from a performance standpoint at Texas A&M. What does jump off the page is his TikTok followers, at over 2 million. Turns out, it pays to be TikTok famous, and now Nike is writing the check. Yet another Buckeye joins the squad at receiver in Emeka Egbuka, who took a back seat to Marvin Harrison Jr. after having a breakout 2022. Although he did spend a bit of 2023 banged up, he is expected to step his production up in 24. Our tight end is Michigan's Colston Loveland. The first team All-Big Ten selection in his second season, was one of the most productive tight ends in the nation last year, with most ahead of him headed to the NFL in the offseason. Our offensive line shows a bit of now SEC bias. Kelvin Banks of Texas, Will Campbell of LSU, Tyler Booker of Bama, Tate Ratledge of Georgia, and Jake Majors of Texas. Majors is the most tenured of the group, a returning fifth-year senior, while all the others were first-team all-conference selections. Along the defense, we will start up front with edge JT Tuimoloau of Ohio State. A first-team All-Big Ten selection the past 2 seasons, he was one of many Buckeyes to forego the NFL draft and stay for his senior year. Fun fact, his freshman class is 0-3 against Michigan. On the other side of the line, we have Tennessee's James Pierce. The first-team All-SEC edge rusher finished 3rd in the conference in total sacks and should probably work on an NIL deal with Geico. Manning the middle will be Walter Nolan. One of many A&M 5-star transfers, the number 1 prospect in the transfer portal took his talents to Oxford as the Lane train keeps chugging along. His partner is Tyleik Williams. Yet another Buckeye returning for his senior season, Williams was second-team All-Big Ten last year. At linebacker, we start with Harold Perkins of LSU. The second-team All-SEC backer was the Tigers' best defensive player. And while that may not be saying much considering LSU's defense performance last season, is still one of the top players at his position nationally. Arizona's Justin Flo also somehow found his way on this list. This is an interesting position for Flo to be in considering he hasn't exactly performed that great in Tucson. He does have quite the following on Instagram though. The former 5-star and Oregon transfer is still looking to become the player he was billed to be coming out of high school, and maybe 2024 is the year it happens. Deontay Lawson takes the final linebacker slot. Bama's Lawson finished second on the team in tackles despite missing 3 games. Spoiler alert, the player ahead of him is also on this team. He will look to be the cornerstone of the post-Saban era Crimson Tide defense. What should be the least surprising selection here is versatile corner Travis Hunter. Hunter is a do-it-all player both on and off the field for the Buffs. The first team All-American selection plays both sides of the ball and showed flashes of being one of the most talented players in the country last year. Off the field, he has deals with brands like Celsius and American Eagle, an active YouTube channel, and over 2 million followers on social media. The opposite side of the field is covered by Ohio State corner Denzel Burke. You know, it's quite refreshing when a group of players stays at the same school from freshman to senior seasons. Chalk up another first-team All-Big Ten Buckeye returning for year 4. At safety, we have Shiloh Sanders. While Shiloh being tied for second in the nation in forced fumbles, granted with 11 other players, is nothing to scoff at, and nepotism isn't the reason he sees the field, it is likely the reason he's so high on this list at over $1 million in NIL value. Finally, we have Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. When you become the first Alabama freshman to lead the team in tackles in the modern era and earn second-team All-America honors, it's likely you'll be in the market for a raise. And that's exactly what Buckeye Nation likely gave him. If you haven't picked up on it, Brutus has deep pockets. All in all, we finished with players from 11 schools in 3 different conferences, with Ohio State leading the way, locking down an impressive 7 of the total 22 spots. Which begs the question, is NIL good for college football? Let me know in the comments section. Check out this video on former players that missed out on claiming their NIL bags, and as always, have a great day and see y'all at the next one.